We're joined today with shadows.
Wow, you double lit yourself too.
I did.
There's 3 of you. You're a triplet.
Which one will move without me moving? Like one of them's going to come to life for sure.
Isn't there a children's book that's something about like the ballerina who lost her shadow? I remember she gets to go to a store and pick out her new shadow.
That's fun.
Yeah. It creeped me out though.
Slightly creepy. Yeah.
As a child. Well, all things creepy happen over here because this is 2 girls, 1 ghost.
2 girls, 1 ghost. And we are your ghostesses. That's Corinne and I'm Sabrina.
Hello?
And should we name my shadows like Bob?
Charlie and June.
Oh my gosh, my alter egos.
There you go. They're already there.
I feel
They're
like whichever
always
one
following.
looks more like the H-man is June.
You need a top hat though. H-Man is not a baseball cap wearer.
Well, we don't know. I've never seen him. Have you?
No, but I guess just from every other email that we've ever received
What if
about
he
him.
is trying to evolve and slowly starts to wear a baseball cap? What if we leave a ghost girl hat for him somewhere in the world and he's like, this is what I've been looking for. Thank you so much. And I will no longer haunt people.
Maybe that's where mine went because I currently cannot find it. Although that's kind of the theme around my house right now until it's put together. So
Until then, this is an Encounters episode where we read your encounters, your ghost stories back to you. Corinne, I think you should start.
Okay, well, how serendipitous that I pulled an email now that you have all these shadows behind you, and it's called The Twins or Someone Else.
Oh.
Hi, ladies. My name is Beth, and I have a long-ish story for you. Before I get into my story, I'll need to give some background information, and this is a trigger warning for miscarriage and child loss. Going back about 11 or 12 years ago, my older sister Amy and her husband were hoping to start their family. They found out that they were pregnant, but unfortunately, Amy had a miscarriage and she did lose the baby. They really wanted to have a family, so they kept on trying, and they found out that they were expecting again. Then they found out that they were actually going to have twins, a boy and a girl.
Oh.
Unfortunately, Amy had miscarried and she did lose both babies.
Oh my gosh.
Fast forward a year or so after Amy and her husband welcomed a beautiful, healthy baby girl, and then 4 years later welcomed another beautiful, healthy baby girl. Later in Amy's adulthood, she realized that she is very spiritually in tune, and it explained things that she's experienced throughout her life. And she said she may write in some of the stories to you guys on her own about her experiences.
Yes.
She's told me experiences and stories about how the twins that she lost years ago are still with her and her family.
Aww.
She'll hear small footsteps running up and down the hallway stairs while her daughters are sitting next to her. My oldest niece, when she was about 4 or 5 years old, used to be really scared of the dark and used to say that there was a zombie in the corner of her room. Now, most kids are scared of the dark and see monsters all the time, but knowing my sister is spiritually in tune, it's likely that my niece is as well. Last thing to know before my story is that I personally am a scaredy cat when it comes to all things supernatural.
Well, thanks for being here and listening despite your fear.
I know. And do you really have a choice when people around you are spiritually in tune?
No.
I feel like you're kind of forced into it a little bit.
Yeah.
I am that person who loves to watch paranormal movies and then have nightmares every night for weeks.
Me
I just
too.
scare so easily. My childhood home always creeped me out, and I always felt like something was there with me. My own home currently has weird things that happen, and my sister's house always gave me the creeps. Now for the story. In 2019, I decided to move into Amy's home, and I made their cute finished basement my room. The layout of the basement was a long hallway, and it opened up into a living room, and there was a half wall that separated the living room from my bedroom. Now, because I'm a scaredy cat, I sleep with the TV on, so I always have some type of light on. One night, I went to bed like normal, and I woke up around 3 a.m., and I opened my eyes to see a male figure walking on the other side of the half wall in front of the TV light and walking towards the opening to my bedroom. I couldn't see who he was or really any details about him, just that he was a dark figure. But I remember feeling annoyed that someone was disrupting my sleep.
Fair.
So I rolled over to ignore this male figure. And when I did, I saw a young woman in her 20s laying next to me with her head propped up in her hand. And she said, "Hi," cheerfully. The next thing I knew, I was startled awake, almost like when you're falling in a dream and you're jolted awake. And when I woke up the second time, I was confused as to how I was even awake, but had to wake up again. So I ended up going back to sleep, not even worrying about what had just happened. This is wild. It's like I'm scared of the dark, but then when I see two ghosts, I just go right back to sleep.
But it is almost like, can your brain even process it? Because it's so, one, terrifying, and two, not at all what you would expect to happen to you while you're sleeping. That like, you're just like, it must be some weird fucking dream. Keep going. Keep sleeping.
Seriously. When I woke up in the morning, I went upstairs and I casually told Amy about it. I figured it was some kind of dream and wanted to interpret it with her. And after I told her what happened, she was smiling at me and she said, "You know who they were. They were the twins." I responded, "The who?" And she said, "Your niece and your nephew." At the time, that was a good enough explanation. And so we just never talked about it again.
Did that make sense age-wise, though? I'm curious. Like, it sounded like they were so much older than I would have thought that they were.
Yeah, but then it's also like, it's one of those confusing things where it's like, if it's the souls of the twins, can they just control how they're appearing? Like
I don't know.
In what age
I don't know.
they want to be?
Or maybe she just looked old for her age, you know? She looked like she was in her 20s, but she could have been like 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're also just so scared in the moment that it's like, they could have been in middle school, but depending on how tall this listener is, could still be kind of eye to eye with you at that point in their development.
Yeah. I guess you're more probably focused on the fact that there's something in your bed than necessarily all the details of what they look like and how old they are.
5 years later, and listening to your podcast has me second guessing a few things. Because one, in every story I've ever been told about a spirit of someone who's been a living being, they typically are the age they were when they passed. And two, why did I feel so at ease about the whole thing? I'm a scaredy cat, remember? And I totally should have been freaked out. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Were those figures really my niece and nephew grown up? Can spirits age? Was I at ease because I subconsciously knew that they were my family? Or was it those zombies my niece used to see and they masked themselves somehow? I don't know much about spirits, the afterlife, or anything of that nature, so I'm curious to hear what you think. Thank you, ladies, for taking the time to read this. I love your podcast. I binge listen all day at work, and I have more stories of what has happened in my own home if you want me to send that in as well. See you on the other side, Beth.
Beth, we absolutely want to know. That's for everyone. If you ask if we want to know, the answer is yes.
The answer is always yes.
Think these are necessarily the zombies. I do believe, especially the like gut instinct of being at ease and not being afraid makes me think that they were the twins. Especially like her sister was so adamant.
Mm-hmm.
Like knew it. It was just like,
right.
Yeah.
I do think it had to have been because, again, there were things that happened in that house that indicated that it was the spirits of the twins before. And also just the fact that there was so much ease that it was just, there was no even like, oh, wow, I just saw a ghost. It was just like, rolling over and seeing your mom sitting on the couch next to you as you're napping in the living room. You just go back to sleep. There's so much comfort in it.
I am curious if Beth in like her dream world is actually spending a lot more time with the twins than she's really aware of. And just like momentarily, that's why there was like no discomfort because her subconscious is familiar with them. And also, to be very honest, we know nothing. So the way that spirits age and show up could make no sense to us timeline-wise in our human little pea brains.
Yeah, we don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we've heard stories where people are progressing in the age that they would be had they been alive. Other times they're the same age. Other times they choose to show themselves when they were 20 and they died when they were 92. There's no real formula or pattern that's consistent between all hauntings.
I think the best rule to go by and follow is how do you feel? Trust your instincts, trust your gut, and trust your pets. And trust your kids, because kids have pretty good read on creepy versus fun and friendly. I would say don't trust Ouija boards. And this is a story from our listener, Kenzie. Hello, spooky ladies. My name is Kenzie, and I have a creepy Ouija board experience. When I was in high school, my best friend of the time lived next door. I'll call her C. One of her sisters we'll call F, the other one K, and one of our friends H. So C, F, K, H, and Kenzie. Let's get into it.
The alphabet.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't know why I sang it like that.
Yeah, that's different. Remix.
The fact that I literally can't even get the alphabet tune is like how...
A, B, C, D, E, F,
G. What's your favorite letter?
I don't know. I never really thought about it.
Really? I've thought about it a lot.
Really? What's yours?
Q.
Q. You like Q?
I think it's so beautiful.
That's really nice.
And it has a tail, kind of like a cat. So maybe that's why. Go. It's interesting because I really don't love like caps and, I have my thing where it's like caps, all lowercase, whatever. Capital Q can be amongst lowercase.
Hard life for a writer that you only want to ever write in all lowercase.
When I write, I don't care. It's more of just like when I visually look at something.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Girl, I like it all in caps,
Yeah, uniform.
So for a few months, the group of us would play the Ouija board all together. And we had this thing that would talk to us all the time. We're going to call him Bruce because I can't remember his specific name, but Bruce would love to talk to us. And Bruce was in love with C. I mean, truly, deeply in love.
Wow.
He would follow her around and was pretty much a creepy stalker that you couldn't see.
Yeah, okay. So more than a crush. Felt a little bit weird. Wasn't reading the room.
No. So we would play with the Ouija board every sleepover. When we would get done, we'd always say goodbye. And instantly, as we said goodbye, the music box behind us on the piano that you had to wind up would start going off every time. One night, C was at work, so it was just the rest of us, and we were like, let's see if Bruce comes out when C's not here, because we think Bruce is the creepy stalker to C. So we pull out the Ouija board, and to our surprise, Bruce did show up. This is the conversation that followed. F asked, "What are you doing here? Are you waiting for C?" Bruce, "Yes." F, "She's working. It will probably be a while." Bruce, "No." Me, "What does he mean, no?" K asked, "Is C off?" Bruce says, "Yes." Me, "No, she's not. She hasn't messaged the family group chat to let us know she's on her way home." F asked, "Can you see C?" Bruce said no. We all sat there really confused for a couple of seconds when suddenly C literally walked in through the door. We asked her why she didn't message the group chat, and she let us know because her phone truly wouldn't send the message when she was leaving work.
Weird.
After that, we were all a little scared. She changed and joined us, and then we asked our usual questions. F asked, "Are you here for C?" Bruce said, "Yes." C, "Hi, Bruce." Bruce spelt out H-I, hi. And so on. We always got really creeped out by this, even though now we're all over it and don't really think about it, but I still get freaked out. That family moved out of the house a few years ago, and we never felt like someone was around or had any weird, creepy feelings. Sometimes I wondered if that house still has Bruce in it, but we did quit playing with the Ouija board not long before they moved, and per their mother's request, we burned the board. My other ghost story is short. My job just moved buildings, and our old building was built after World War II and was a foundry mill where they melt aluminum and other metals. I noticed after about a year of working there that I would hear typing in the office with me, but nobody else was in there with me. One day I walked into the office back from the shop floor, and we had plastic parts we made sitting on a shelf. I sat back down at my desk, and suddenly I heard this crash. I walked out of my office, and every single piece was on the ground.
Whoa.
Confused, I picked them up and placed them back on the shelf. I went back to my desk. About 3 minutes later, crash. I look, it happened again. Now, if anyone was in the office alone other than me, they never had these weird things happen to them. Only me. And it would never happen when anyone else was there with me. Only when I was alone.
Of course.
After we moved, I don't hear random typing in the office when I'm alone, so maybe whatever ghost it was stayed at the old shop. At least I wasn't alone. My dad, who is one of my bosses, had seen a figure, and so did the other boss. They never had encounters, but when they would close the shop, they could see a figure move around out of the corner of their eye. I do have another ghost story from when I was little, but I don't remember much of it, just stories of what everyone else tells me. Apparently, we had a ghost in the house I live in now. I've not seen her, but my grandma swears she was there every day when we were little, and we would go see her down the hallway. Now, nobody died in the house as my grandparents built it themselves, so who knows who the ghost is? I am convinced I will be haunted because I will go to Arizona to see my mom and go out to the desert on ATVs, and there are so many cemeteries out there. So maybe I'll come back with more ghost stories. Love you, ladies. I'll see you on the other side, Kenzie.
Okay, wait. So in her grandma's house, when Kenzie said that they would go to see the spirit at the end of the hall, did that mean that they would just see a spirit at the end of the hall? Or was this like a field trip where they would just be like, let's go see so-and-so? And they would all just march over there and truly encounter
I like to
a
picture
spirit.
that. And I like to picture grandma just seeing Kenzie and creepy kids down at the end of the hall, maybe like sitting and just talking to the ghost, like, doo-doo-doo.
Doo-doo-doo. So many experiences, though. My gosh.
Who's Bruce?
Yes. Who the fuck is Bruce? It's so interesting because it's like one of those things where, you know, how animals will have, like you were mentioning it a while ago when you said Leia would know in college when you were coming home because she would know the sound of your car.
Right.
And that's almost what Bruce feels like. This like obsessed pet. It's like, I know she's coming. I know she's coming in. I can sense she's here, and alerting everyone.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of cool because I feel like that really, to me, validates the existence of the spirit. And it's not that you're just like talking to something else or like someone's moving the board. But I'm really curious what C experienced because it sounds like this ghost followed her everywhere.
Which, okay, here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know that Bruce was a person? Because now I'm starting to think, what if it was a dog? You know, like you get up to leave the room and your dog is comfortable. And just because you're leaving the room, they're like Velcro to you and they'll follow you, even though they were like dead asleep a second ago. They're just obsessed. They're your little shadow.
I think that's what you want it to be. And I don't think it's a negative thing necessarily. It could truly be like a spirit guide or a guardian or like a past life connection. But it does feel human to me.
Mm-hmm.
Human adjacent, previous human soul.
I know. When did Bruce give up? That's the question.
But did he, or did they just stop playing with the Ouija board and then this family moved and did Bruce follow the family?
Yeah. Good, important questions. We need the answers.
Yeah, where's C now? Can we find out?
You owe us another email. We beg and beg for people to send their tales. And then when they do, we're like, thanks, but we need more.
Well, we need more. We're needy.
We are. Okay. This is called, I knew when my grandpa died because I saw him in the astral realm.
Oh.
Okay. So the subject is very heavy. And trigger warning talks of blood, possible downstairs hounds / D words.
That demons?
I think that means demons. Yeah.
Okay.
And grieving a grandparent. Hi, I'm Destiny, she, they. And I would like to tell you the story of how I knew my grandfather was dead because I saw him in the astral realm. To lay some groundwork, I'd like to note that my family is sensitive to many things regarding spirits, spiritual work, and seeing premonitions. Think practical magic vibes without the very hot Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock.
Okay, but still,
I'm sure there's a lot of hotness still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I've known since a young age that I had the gift of seeing things that most other people couldn't. My mom, being the spiritual woman that she is, tried to help me hone my abilities and protect myself from things that could hurt me. AKA, she gave me blessing jewelry so it could be used as some sort of glamour to protect me. However, nothing could have prepared me for this.
Oh, no.
Now, this story I'm about to tell you is the first time that I've ever astral traveled. And let me tell you, I never wanted to do it again after what happened. It started off like a normal dream, and then it slowly changed into me walking into the forest. Now, me being only 13 at the time, I wasn't thinking anything of it. Dreams change all the time. However, after walking into this forest alone, I suddenly got a bad feeling. You know that gut-dropping feeling like you walked into somewhere that you know you shouldn't have been? I felt my heart race. I knew I was being watched, and I needed to get out now.
Oh.
I started to panic. First mistake, LOL. And I looked around, and then I saw it. A figure hunched down on all fours, looking right at me. I'll never forget its red eyes and sharp teeth and the way that its growl shook me to my core.
Holy shit.
Now to the biggest mistake that I could have done in this situation. All of the advice my elders had ever told me was forgotten. I was in fight or flight, and unfortunately, I turned around and I ran. Running for what felt like hours, and one of the figures seemed to turn into 3, and now they were chasing me like I was a young doe and they were these hungry beasts ready to eat it.
This is like giving me Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Like this is the scariest version of astral travel.
How could you ever wake up rested?
No, this is like a dark fucking astral plane.
Yes. Playing with me like a cat would a mouse. And then I felt my body and my soul go weak. I was tired and I just couldn't go on any longer. And that's when the pain came. I felt it rip into my back and it was excruciating. It was the type of pain where you couldn't even scream out. You only just lay there, paralyzed. And that is what I did. I was frozen and I couldn't move as I felt its claws ripping into my back. It toyed with me for what, I don't know how long, really. But then it lost interest in hurting me and it left as fast as it came. It all felt so real. The blood running from my cuts in my back, the dirt under my nails, the beautiful foliage of the forest, the smell of copper and dirt. I didn't know how long I had been laying there, bleeding, but I felt my heart slow. It felt like I was dying, and then I recognized what was happening to me. I knew it deep within me. I was dying. All of the advice my mother and elders had taught me had not helped me. I was too young, and I stumbled into something that was way, way too big for me to truly understand, at this part in my life at least. I remember crying and being so scared, and then I felt a nose touch my forehead. Not any nose, it was the nose of a wolf. Wolves and buffalo are very important to my family because we are native and have familial attachments to those animals in particular. I felt it try to lift my head up, like how a dog would try to get you up off of the ground. And when that didn't work, it then changed into my lovely grandpa, my Papa Frank, with his kind eyes and his goofy goatee.
Aww.
He then picked me up and he started walking. All the while, he's telling me to keep my eyes open and that he'd get home soon. He said it wasn't my time and that I still had a lot of growing up to do. He took me to a river, he washed my back, and he told me that I needed to be more careful. I cried and I held on to him so tightly. I've always been a grandpa's girl and was so spoiled. Everyone knew it. He then said the words that I will never forget, and the words that broke my heart. He said, I have to go now. Tell your mom and siblings I said hi, that I love them very mucho. Something our family would say all the time because my grandpa had an accent, and when he would say very, it would sound like berry.
Aw.
And he continued, and tell them that I had a good run. He laughed, he rubbed my shoulders, ruffled my hair, and he walked away from the river, leaving me kneeling in this river.
Whoa.
I then felt like I was pushed back into my body, and I woke up to the sun rising, and I cried, and I screamed for my mom, and she came in, and I told her that I needed to call Grandpa, that something happened to him. And she was very confused, and I told her all that happened and to make sure to check my back. And sure enough, on my back were claw marks, like a dog had scratched you multiple times. Proof of what had happened, that it wasn't just a scary dream. So my mom made sure to sage the entire house and then smudge and cleanse me from anything that could have clung on to me. She was too worried about me to really think much about what I had said about Grandpa. Understandable, I would be more concerned about my kid if this happened to them.
Sure.
She then let me stay home from school, and we got a call at 8 a.m. that day. The call that confirmed my grandpa had passed. He was sitting out on his porch with his coffee to the side and a smile on his face. I was told that he looked like he'd taken a little nap watching the sunrise, something he used to do all the time. I truly cannot express the love and the gratitude I feel for my Papa Frank. I know that without his spirit helping me, I would have died that day as well. I remember seeing his spirit at the funeral. All of the elders in the family seemed to know what happened to me and what I saw. And what can I say? Old natives are way wiser and have way better intuition than this little 5'3", 120-pound soaking wet little girl. I still cry every time I think about him and the whole situation. That man loved his grandchildren with every fiber of his being, and in his final goodbye, he saved me. And I still get little visits from him even a decade later. AKA, I'll get a little caress on the head when I'm in a stressful situation, or I'll hear his laugh every once in a while. Stay being amazing people and making people laugh. See you on the other side, Destiny.
I have so many mixed thoughts about this because, I mean, I think it's amazing that Destiny's family was so supportive and so encouraging in helping Destiny channel and nurture her own abilities. But there's part of me, while as terrifying as this astral projection experience is, which also the fact that your physical body can have markings from an astral experience is scary. But it's interesting because I feel like Destiny almost needed to have this experience because she's so connected to her grandfather that, like,
yeah,
it is kind of beautiful to have had that experience and be the one to know that your grandfather is passing away and then have that final goodbye with him.
Yeah, it also makes me curious what other things, because she keeps saying like all the things that her elders prepared her for.
Right.
She didn't listen in the moment. She wasn't ready for all that was going to happen, really, after she ignored some of the first steps, which was like, don't run if you see something like this. So it makes me curious if Destiny's family is really powerful astral travelers. Like, do they often find themselves in the astral plane? Are there these creatures that kind of hunt down her family? And if so, maybe it was just totally coincidence, or maybe her grandpa was in the astral plane and saw, maybe every night he would go there, you know? And so when he was kind of in this in-between of as he was passing, and it probably felt like taking a nap while watching the sunrise.
Right.
He sees this and he's like, oh, wait, I have to interrupt my moving on because I see that our girl over there, Destiny, has
Needs
not
some
followed our
help.
rules.
I mean, it's curious. I'm very fascinated to learn more about what Destiny has learned about the astral plane and the rules of it because, I mean, like we've said a million times, we know nothing and we don't understand how it works. But I feel like the version of the astral plane that I've experienced looks very much like, and I only experienced such a small part of it, but I experienced the place that I was living in the astral plane, or like my subconscious like self was out of my body experiencing that. But I do love that there's almost like this whole other world.
Yeah. And you're right. It does feel like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
And like Narnia.
In this astral world. Yes. Being hunted down and like her grandfather appearing as the wolf, as the protector.
Destiny, can we interview you? I want to know everything.
I know. Tell us everything about your life and your family and what you guys do and all your powers.
I really want to know what would happen. I don't think it's ever happened yet where there's been a successful, and if anyone knows anything different, let me know, a successful brain transplant, because I'd be so curious if you would just inherit the like personality and characteristics and thoughts and consciousness of another person. Like, how does that work?
You have to get so much of it, right? I mean, if it happens with organs.
I know.
You know.
Anyway, I want to learn more about that. Are there any doctors who know anything about that? I don't think it's happened yet. I looked it up.
Calling all the doctors who listen to our podcast.
Actually, okay, speaking of doctors, this story, okay, I'm going to preface it with it can be very sad, but it has a heartwarming ending.
Okay.
And it's from our listener, Jenna, and it is called My Young Daughter's Haunted Hospital Stay and Funny Update. Okay. I am excited to share this story, but there are trigger warnings of child death, and it probably will cause some tears. It is quite a tale, so I'll get right to it. When my daughter was 2, she got sick with nephrotic syndrome. Her little body was so swollen, she was peeing out all her protein and was so sensitive to sodium because of this. She got diagnosed March of 2011. I was pregnant with my son, and he was born in June. By July, my daughter was in remission, but a month to the day, she relapsed. We ended up having to take her to a children's hospital 4 hours away from our home. I stayed with my daughter, and my husband stayed with our newly born son. We were supposed to stay in this hospital for 2 weeks to get her back under control. The doctor said she had the worst case the doctor had ever seen, which was not comforting at all to hear.
Oh, and that's also hard. Like, did the doctor need to say that?
I mean, I guess like when you're in such a dire situation, like the bluntness can actually be helpful. I don't know.
Yeah. Help you understand the gravity of the situation.
Right. It's awful regardless, you know?
Yeah.
Our 2-week stay turned into 6 months, and it was the hardest, most heartbreaking time of my life. The unit we were on was the oncology and nephrology unit. We would see kids come in so full of life until medication kicked in, and it was so sad. We met and laughed with many families, but we also grieved with many of them as well. I want to take this time to send kudos to the nurses and doctors that work in this field because it is not easy. It wasn't easy to be there. It can't be easy to spend all your career doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the ghost story. We were stuck in an isolation room because my daughter's immune system was low. This was the night before Halloween, so I had picked out a costume from the playroom for my daughter for the next day. I laid it on the cot in the room as I slept in the hospital bed with my daughter, holding her tight. As always, I was trying to get some sleep. My daughter was sound asleep beside me, and at that moment, I heard a little child's giggle coming from the cot. I looked over, but nothing was there. Then I saw a small shadow run along the opposite wall. My eyes were wide, my heart was pumping, but finally I did fall asleep. The next day, myself and the mother in the room next to us asked a nurse if they ever experienced weird things. Nurses aren't supposed to say anything, but myself and the mother in the room next to me had built a good relationship with him because we had been there for so long. And the nurse said, yes. Every time they walked by the electronic scale, it would pop up with the same weight. She said that weight was a specific weight of a little girl who had passed away from cancer.
Oh, my heart is breaking.
I know. I explained the experience that I had the night before, and she told us that the little girl who had stayed in that room loved to dress up. So she must have loved the costume I laid out for my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember when, but I heard some commotion in the room next door. The bell was going off and nurses were running. The mom's daughter got rushed to ICU, and once everything settled down, I got a chance to talk to the mom, and she told me that the portable monitor started going off and that her daughter's blood pressure was super high. The only thing is, the monitor was not attached to her daughter. It was just there for periodic checks. So when the nurses ran in, her daughter was actually having a seizure from high blood pressure. The mom and I truly believe that a ghost made that machine go off to save the little girl's life.
Whoa.
Just so everyone knows, this little girl is doing well today. So while I'm in the isolation room, I took some pictures. I have 3 pictures of a faint orb floating down beside my daughter that gets brighter in each picture. I also got a picture of a light streak coming up from my son's eyes as he was laying on the bed. This is side on, and he was about 5 months old at the time. That one kind of creeped me out a bit. My daughter ended up in 2 induced comas in ICU, the first for 7 days, the next for 5 weeks. My daughter actually had a seizure due to high blood pressure, and luckily my husband was there and able to do CPR. It was when I was cuddling my son that I didn't see often. This was when she had her 7-day induced coma. She then had to work on her mobility after this. Then her 5-week induced coma was the hardest. My husband came down to pick us up to take us home, and he noticed that she was breathing really fast. The nurse checked her, and there was fluid in her lungs. She got rushed down to the ICU and was placed into a 5-week induced coma. They took x-rays of her chest periodically, sometimes daily, and her lungs were still full of fluid. They had her at max for her breathing tube, and she was on 23 different medications and had 12 blood transfusions.
Oh, so tough for her little body.
The doctors were pushing us to pull the plug. She was then put into palliative care, and we were being told to make funeral arrangements for her. I'm not a religious person, but I do believe something was watching over her. I was asked if I wanted to have a minister to go in and say a prayer, and I agreed. That night, I told the nurses I wanted to lay down with her. They helped me get into bed with her, and I laid down. As I was lying beside her, the medication line fell out of her side. I freaked out because there was liquid coming out of the hole left in the line. The doctor told me to calm down and that they weren't going to put another line in to see what happened. Do you want to know what happened? She started to get better. She came around the next week. She ended up getting a tracheotomy and a portacath into the center of her chest to administer medication. We were told she would always be on oxygen. She had to regain her mobility again. In a month, she was off of all the oxygen, the trachea was removed, and we were finally on our way home. 2 years later, we were finally told that the medication line had actually been leaking medication into her lungs, filling them with fluid. It almost took her life. Had I not laid down next to her, had that line not come out and started leaking liquid and they didn't put it back in, she would not be here today.
Holy shit. That seems like some real spirit intervention.
Seriously.
Oh my God.
Today, she is 15, a healthy young lady with a great sarcastic sense of humor, like her mother. She is the most lovely old soul and is our miracle. Thank you for giving the world such a great podcast. And here's a quick little update. This part is kind of weird, funny, and scary all at once. So the night that I sent this email to you ladies of my daughter's hospital experience, my daughter wakes up the next morning. She has no idea that I sent this to you. She's getting ready for school and comes into my bedroom and asks, "Mom, why did you put a raw piece of bacon in my bed?" And I was like, "What? Why would I do that?" And she said, "Well, I woke up with a raw piece of bacon stuck to my butt on my sweatpants and the dog was eating it."
What the heck?
She asked her dad and her brother and got the same confused look from everyone. Also, we have no bacon in the house, so we have no idea where it came from. I comforted her and told her maybe it was a gift from the pigs that we had, but we really have no idea. Why would the pigs put bacon on her? And then she said, "Mom, I think we have a ghost in our house."
Yeah, seems like it.
So we're going to see if this prankster keeps it up. That's from Jenna.
Slapping bacon on the booty. What
Bacon
a
booty.
classic ghost prank.
Classic.
That is so bizarre.
Where did it
I
come
have
from?
no idea what that is. My first thought was, I hope it is paranormal, because the alternative is like, what if they have mice and a mouse just like dragged it in and put it on her butt?
Why wouldn't they have just taken it to their little home and eaten it, though?
Maybe they were trying to eat it on top of her booty.
They got confused between booty and bacon because her booty is so sizzling. She's 15. That's so inappropriate.
Oh. Well, I'm just thinking, like when squirrels will go and they'll like perch up, or like, animals take something to a little mound and it's like a soft, cushy booty. Perfect spot for your bacon. Or if you're a ghost, great prank to play.
It's a hilarious prank. I also do love, it's kind of like, I feel like this is a trope in like movies and TV shows where like people will like put like some scent behind their ear to get like an animal to like them or like hide treats in their hands. I love that the dog was literally eating the bacon piece off of her butt in the morning. Like I don't know. It just makes me laugh. Like I feel like the dog's the winner in this situation.
There's some ghost giggling on the side being like, classic. She did wake up. The dog did go wake her up doing that.
It's like putting someone's
like
hand in water
ghost
while they're sleeping to make them pee.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So horrible. I really do feel for everybody who has to go through these horrendous medical situations too, where it's like,
especially with their
it's
kids.
so hard to watch someone be poked and prodded. It's so hard to be the one that's poked and prodded. And then to just be surrounded by other parents who have just as many worries as you, and other parents who might not be as lucky as you got to be with your child. And I can't even imagine the like atmosphere that exists there. But I think one of the things that is so sweet is the spirit of the little girl who passed there, who is going around and trying to do whatever she can to help people. And she seems to be enjoying herself, right? Like she's running around, she's giggling.
Having fun.
Yes, she's having a good time.
Costumes.
Right. Yeah. She's not in this state where she's feeling any pain or remembering any of the fear. Right. She's just experiencing joy and happiness and using all of the opportunities that she has to help other people.
Right.
Help other kids.
It's also, I mean, I'm so glad the medical line fell out when Jenna got into bed with her daughter, because my goodness,
my God,
like she was literally laying in bed as like a preparation for her death.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that's some wild intervention. And also like the fact that Jenna and her family didn't find out about the liquid filling her lungs until 2 years later. That's so interesting. Was it like they didn't figure it out until then, or what?
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like whoever was helping, whoever was interfering, it clearly there's a whole guardian team surrounding her daughter helping out special. Because there were just so many things happening all at once. It would be kind of hard to see medically what's causing what and what's helping, what's not.
I'm so glad that your daughter is okay, Jenna. And I love that you formed this like beautiful relationship with the mom and daughter in the room next to you, and that she's also okay. There are a lot of happy moments that come in this story. It's not all sad, which I'm glad. It's a good way to end the episode rather than being terrified.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Also today, I think this episode comes out on July 4th. I hope everyone is having a great festive day.
Oh yeah. Hope you're partying it up, eating those strips of bacon, guzzling some dogs, baby.
Guzzle the weens. That doesn't sound appropriate.
Happy birthday, America.
The day to guzzle weens.
Can't get more American than that. Oh, man.
Do you do anything special on 4th of July?
Yeah. Every year, it's kind of like this unspoken thing where all of us from high school and middle school, like everybody just returns home to Vermont.
Oh,
and we all hang out and go out on the lake and raft up and boat. And it's really, really fun. My friend Nate, his family often has some parties. They live right on the lake. It's great fun. I can boat up to it. So usually I'll take my boat and like boat over. And then he comes out and he rowboats me into shore. But my parents sold their boat. So I guess I have to drive.
Or swim.
Next time. But that's what I do. Although I won't be doing anything this year because I'll be in diapers. What about you?
I have an unspoken thing where I do literally nothing. I think truly 4th of July to me is one of the most overrated holidays.
I felt that exact same way when I lived in California. I think that there's a different expectation and a different way of celebrating the 4th of July in Los Angeles than in certain other places. Like, I think New Year's is very overrated, but I
agree.
When I lived in California, I would rank it. There's all these expectations with like the bars and partying and all this stuff that I felt in California that made me not enjoy it.
But also I think what I appreciate so much, it's overrated as a holiday to like celebrate, but I think generally, aside from like Halloween and Christmas, what I love about holidays is the ability to actually take time off and actually relax. And my version of relaxation isn't necessarily like going and drinking and having fun. It is laying in my bed, reading a book, being by myself, and literally being so unbothered by anyone because they're all off doing their own shit, you know?
Well, you might like the Vermont version because it's kind of like that. You just float down a river or on the lake all day.
Okay, well then not this year, but next year I'll do it with you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
I love how far in advance we have to make plans now.
The few people who have come for the 4th of July in Vermont have come a few times. Marissa and Freya experienced it, and they've come 2 or 3 times now for 4th of July.
All right. Well, I'll guzzle vegan dogs in Vermont.
Yeah, perfect.
In a couple of years.
We'll watch some fireworks, go to the local parade where we get to watch the lawn chair brigade.
I love
watch people drive their tractors down the road. And then we go to the book fair.
Oh, fuck yeah. I love that.
It's so good. It's so much fun.
It's a plan.
I love Vermont.
You know what we also like to guzzle is ghost stories, so please send them to us. Any type of ghost story, paranormal, cryptid, supernatural, alien, whatever it is, anything odd and strange that has happened to you, please email them to us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you have your favorite Reddit stories, you can email those to us too. And we like to know what spooky things you're consuming as well, so that we can consume them with you.
You can follow us on social media. You can watch us on YouTube. You can join our Patreon if you want an extra episode, full length, every single month, or to join us live on Campfire Stories every Tuesday night, or for ad-free and 1 week early episodes, or for quarterly book clubs, and so many more things over there. So head on over. And shout out to Jamie, who edits and produces our podcast. Thank you for all the work you do on our audio and video. We truly appreciate you.
And we love all of you.
And we will see you on the other side.